We met, what would you say, maybe a couple of years ago on a client project, correct?
Yeah, it was great to meet you.
Yep,
And
same to
man, I
you.
was so impressed by your services. And I have to sing your praises here, Alex, with what you did for Hope for Prisoners and what I saw in the projects that we worked on together. I saw you soar creatively, and
Thank
it
you.
was just amazing to see your work in action.
Thank you very much. And that relationship, thank God, continues. And it's one I enjoy very, very much because I am given creative license to say, hey, this is what we're trying to achieve. Go do your thing. It's a wonderful relationship of many years. Lori Mann, CEO, ManMark.
Alex, thanks for having me today.
Thank you for joining me. We met, what would you say, maybe a couple of years ago on a client project, correct?
Yeah, it was great to meet you.
Yep,
And
same to
man,
you.
I was so impressed by your services.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I enjoyed working with you as well. You were very direct to the point and executed all that was happening with a rather large event, series of events. So I enjoyed it very much. I asked you to come be with me because I want to have conversations with professionals, especially locals here that are in the area that are, let's say, well, either tangentially doing things of which are related to mine, but even if not, I love to work with people that have a business and that are doing things in the community, et cetera. So thank you for joining me. I asked you to come up with some topics, right? And you have a different kind of, you have a marketing, PR, correct? Social media, business, and offering. Is that right?
Absolutely, Alex.
Can you give me the 30,000-foot view, please, of what you do?
I created my business for organizations that need trusted support in marketing, public relations, and social media to get the word out, to increase your business. I specifically help nonprofits. I have a heart for nonprofits. I serve nonprofits in my career history, and I have a heart for serving the community. So organizations that are out there making a difference, those are the kind of organizations that I'm going to support.
So exclusive nonprofit, I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
Not exclusive. I also provide a service-to-service organization.
Okay.
So any organization that's out there making a difference, that could be a coach, that could even be an internet service provider, it could be in guardian service. There's all kinds of businesses making a difference, and those are the kind of businesses that I support.
I love it. Anyone that's heard me say anything on this video content is, the general design marketing space is many times an unlicensed, unregulated Wild West. And there are various, let's say, varying quality services being offered because of, I think, one, a lack of standardized kind of maybe credentialing, right, et cetera. Would you agree with that statement?
I would, and I think that a lot of people think that they are marketing experts, but are they truly experts? Do they have results that speak for themselves?
Agreed.
And I have over 2 decades and proven results for the clients that I serve.
I love that. And I think that history is so important. In my own business, it's always like, let's talk about my core skills, our core offer, which is to design, build, and manage WordPress websites. It's, have you seen our portfolio? It's very important to see it, right? Because without the portfolio, how can one understand if they, what can they expect from me if they don't see our work product? So I'm also proud to say that I've been doing this since 2012. I have, plus or minus 1,000 projects under the belt, something like that, and very proud of that. And early in my career, I was maybe advised to do specific work for a type of group, like just do websites for doctors or lawyers or whomever. And I never took that advice. I always say I'm industry agnostic. And I love to be able to take a set of skills that's grown and grown over the years and apply it in different use cases. It's actually one of the most, I would say, enjoyable things about what I do. Not doing the same rote thing over and over and over. I'm able to take, learn skill over time and apply it in different cases. I assume that in your business, it's, you never know who you're going to work with. And that 2 decades of experience is very, very helpful.
Alex, I love that you mentioned this. Today, right before I came here, I was working on a flyer for one of my clients, Living Grace Homes. And I was at that point where I could literally just hit send.
Okay.
But something stopped me and said, Lori, you're not ready to send this yet. And then as I'm driving, it's that great time to think
Yes.
and to really, I wasn't done yet. And it is always a chance to make things better, to reinvent. And I find myself doing that every day. I'm one of those obsessive people that spends weekend doing my work, my craft, because it is indeed my craft. It drives my husband a little bit crazy, I have to share, but it's so much fun, right? Isn't this the most fun you could ever have is creating every day?
Creating every day and also being responsible for results of our clients, which is so important. Like I will never know the true, let's even from a financial standpoint, financial impact that the work in which we are doing has had and continues to have, right? We're a vendor for designing and building and managing sites that in nature are continuing to improve all the time because the business improves and the business continues to evolve. And even more so when paid media is involved and companies are spending money and they need a result and there's revenues tied to the marketing expenses, right? Obviously. So I take that really serious. I always say to my clients, I'm not messing around with your livelihood here. It's something I enjoy very, very much. So yes, my wife would agree that I am poor in work-life balance, but I mean well. I mean well.
Well, let's take this down. When I was talking about that project that I was working on before I came here, it was basically celebrating Living Grace Homes 19 years. And so I created this flyer to encourage people to give. But at the end of the day, I thought to myself, Lori, is that really going to bring in the results that you're looking for? And I want to keep on working on this project and all of my projects to ensure that it is bringing in the results that I'm hoping for, because at the end of the day, I'm only as successful as my clients are. So if I'm not inspiring somebody to give that $19 a month on a recurring basis, then I haven't done my job on this flyer. So you can see it's much more than designing a pretty flyer.
Of course it is.
It's really, and it's, even if it's great the first time, is it really great? Is it really accomplishing what I've set out to do? So one of my values is excellence, and integrity is another one. And I'm constantly, daily challenged to live by those values. What does excellence and what does integrity mean? It means, even though it's easier for me to give you that flyer and be done with it, because I didn't plan to do this flyer in the first place today, it means going back to it, spending the time, making sure that it brings in the results that I say that it should, because that's excellence and integrity at work.
And if I may say, at times in design relationships, one is not only doing what we think is best, but we also have to manage the expectations and, let's say, requests of our clients, which is sometimes difficult, right? Sometimes difficult. Will it align? What happens if the client comes to you and says, hey, we think the following changes should be made, but you've had experience that that's not the right thing? So it's a management of that kind of, it's a balance of that dynamic, right?
I believe in managing requests, but probably way less than a typical entrepreneur like myself, because at the end of the day, if my client isn't successful, then I'm not successful. So
I say to my clients often, I say, look, the best engagements is when you let me spread my wings creatively. Let me go with it. Those are the best ones, as opposed to being an order taker and every single point being told what to do. I think there's other people that may be better at that than I. I'll spread my wings. I'll do what I think is right. I'll present it to you. I'll give you the why as to behind it, and we go from there. We can always dial it back. That's my position on that.
And I have to sing your praises here, Alex, with what you did for Hope for Prisoners and what I saw in the projects that we worked on together. I saw you soar creatively, and it was just amazing to see your work in action.
Thank you very much. And that relationship, thank God, continues, and it's one I enjoy very, very much because I am given creative license to say, hey, this is what we're trying to achieve. Go do your thing. It's a wonderful relationship of many years. I'll bring up here some points in which you've mentioned to me, and I'd like to go into detail if we would. You mentioned you said igniting advocates, why the strongest brands start with belief rather than just knowing your why. Could you explain your position on this?
Belief is going one step further than the why. And I think a lot of us, we start there and we don't really understand what that belief is. And that belief is that lived out why. It's that every day, like we talked about earlier. It's taking that why, living it. And once you really believe the core of your mission, those around you will also believe.
Meaning to say, like, instead of me just stating to you, here's the purpose or vision of the company, it's like, no, I believe in what I'm doing and I believe in the work that the organization is doing. Hence, it's a step beyond me just articulating the mission or purpose or whatever I'm doing. Is that right?
Yes, and living out your values on a consistent basis. So if you've said, you've put the stake in the ground, these are my values, how are you living out your values? And that's really your belief, and then it will inspire the belief of everyone around you.
I like it. It reminds me, I have lots of potential sales opportunities that I have. One today was an interesting group that had a for-profit arm, a nonprofit arm. They had questions whether to merge two websites together. They use a third-party platform in order to manage their calendar and events, of which thousands of people are going to. It's some scale. And maybe at a different time in my career, I would have pretended to know something about this third-party platform. Maybe pretend is not the right word, but maybe been more open to taking such a thing on. But I often joke, I'm getting to an age where I need to be very clear on what it is that I do and not do. I've seasoned myself sufficiently to know who I am. And I was able to say very simply, hey, I'd love to own a few pieces of this, but the very most I can find a qualified developer to work in this other platform. It's just not what I do, right? And it would be a disservice to you and a disservice to myself in order to take that on. I think sometimes people in those situations might say, oh, well, I have to do all of it or they're not going to choose me. Whereas I find that if I'm very, very straightforward, and again, standing behind the things of which I know, which I'm not going to, one of them is I'm not going to take things on that I shouldn't be taking on. I actually think I have a better chance of having a meaningful, good, long-term relationship with a client. And that just happened today as an example.
I think it's so important to know your vision and to stand by your vision. In Manmark, this was incredibly important. In the first couple years of the business, I had to make a really hard choice, and that was, this is the kind of clients that I am serving. I am not serving those outside of this. And I basically pared my business down to like one client and walked away from other clients. And that was a hard decision to make, but it really came into what's my vision? What do I hope to accomplish with Manmark? And how do I do this? And the only way to do that is to be clear and true to my vision.
I love that because speaking of myself here, when I was in, let's say, a more fledgling time of the business, it's easy to kind of take on anything. Partially because, from a financial aspect, partially from you're still learning and haven't you haven't really proven this is your offer, this is what you do, right? Just because you're not there yet. And I'm for that. I think I know clearly the type of work that we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. And again, disservice to the client to do otherwise, disservice to yourself to do otherwise. It's my entire professional career. I spend, 15, 18 hours a day either thinking or working in the business. It's the reality. I'm mentally with Sage so much, right? Beyond my being here in the office, however much I am. So I stand behind that. I think that's so important. But I love that. I've actually been thinking to myself, I'd like to develop my, let's say, the core parts of who we are, what we do, why we do it. Like, again, I have these things represented on the website, but maybe not so comprehensively or in a simple manner that anyone could see.
Your vision, your values, your mission should be the guiding force behind your company. And I say that to anyone leading any entrepreneur, small business owner, large business owner. Let your vision, your values, your mission be the guiding light. And when you do that, then everything else will become quite clear. It's easy to know what to say yes to and what to say no to and where you should go with your business once you have those defined.
There's a saying I like. It goes something like, without a goal, any direction will do, right? If we don't know where we're going or who we are, I could go to the left, I could go to the right. It really doesn't matter because I don't know where I'm going. You made a comment, and I'm just notating here, like when you do have vision clarity, right? You're turning people from, like you said it, customers, employees, partners, into real advocates of the business rather than, you called it a passive supporter, which I really liked. Could you comment on that?
I would love to. And it's amazing to me how many brands go out there and look for social media advocates outside instead of starting with their team. You need to start with your team. They are your closest advocates. Start there, and then you grow out. And so I've done this in various ways. For one of my clients, Nevada Guardian Services, I created a social media superstar contest where we just rewarded those team members for bringing their values to life, to engaging on social media. But what we also did is we had team meetings, and I asked the team members, tell me more about Guardian Services. Tell me why this is so important. And I got to be able to tell their stories. Again, they are the brand advocates. It starts not just from the president. You need to be able to talk to all the different team members. Another great example is ISP.net, an internet provider, just talking to their team members, rewarding their team members. I'm not just talking about tripling social media engagement here. I'm talking about going well above those numbers and talk about results. These are organizations that have paid for click for pay, all the
Sure,
Google
sure.
ads. But really, at the end of the day, are you fueling the fire of the right kind of advocate? So start on the inside and work your way out.
I like that. And it came to my mind that someone thinking of hiring me wouldn't be a bad idea to hear directly from someone that's with me 24/7 in the business, right? Right? Madeline here sitting in the room with us probably would have a lot to say about my character or the type of results that we bring or the type of attention I pay to a client account or how I resolve problems, right? Better someone else that's with me say it than me myself. You agree?
Absolutely. And I would feature Madeline on your social media. I would feature her voice. I mean, from the moment I walked in, I could tell that she had your best interests at heart and that she's a professional and that she has her own intellect that she can bring to this. And the more that you do that with whether you have a marketing agency, whatever kind of agency, the more that you empower the people that work with you and have them be your brand advocates, the stronger your organization will be.
I love it. Madeline, you ready for that? She's saying yes. That's a great look. That's really great. And it leads me to a related point in a sense too, that so often I think businesses are hyper-focused on the next. Where's the next deal or client or whomever going to come from, instead of saying, how can I have deeper, better relationships with the best people that have already proven to pay, which is our current clients, right? I think that's so important. For example, Sage is doing let's call it client appreciation lunch, 50, 60 people next month. And it's important to me. It's not about the money that we spend. I don't want anything from it. I just want an opportunity to bring together so many people from across Las Vegas with real businesses. Everyone I tell about it, I'm like, listen, come for the lunch. I swear to you, there'll be at least a couple of great opportunities for you to meet other rock stars that have real businesses in town. That's all I want from you. Just show up. And I want to invest in my clients because, again, they've proven they're the best thing that ever happened to Sage, and the only reason we continue to survive and to thrive is because we have meaningful relationships with others, right? So it just kind of reminds me of that. Don't look outward, like you said, like look inwards. They're already there. They're already there.
Absolutely. And I would just say to anyone, any business owner, pause there. Pause by talking to your clients, by, first of all, number one, doing all you can for your client's success, even if it costs you in your business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pause and do that first. And then bring to life the testimonials of your clients. This is just a discipline, right? Is asking when somebody says, man, I don't know what I would do without you, Alex, and without Sage. Really, let's talk a little bit more about that and let's get that. Tell me a little bit more about that and get that testimonial. Mm-hmm. Put it on your website, put it on your social, put it everywhere and capture those authentic testimonials. That's what you want. You want people to sing the praises of your company instead of you doing that yourself.
Totally agreed. I had a podcast with a very dear friend of mine not long ago, and he said the same. Don't make it from your own mouth saying about it. Let others do it for you. And I agree with that totally. We have some really cool tech we've been using for a number of years now that, let's say, beautifully displays video in a number of ways on the website, one of which is in a carousel. I have a lot of testimonials from clients. And these are not Hollywood productions, too, by the way. Just candid from the cell phone. I think it's real, it's authentic, and said better than I could ever say it. It's like, please listen to the clients. I think that's really important.
I love that, and I love the attention that it shows that you care and you're talking to your clients. And it also shows the other side, right? Because it's not always easy with our clients. We're not always 100% satisfying our clients,
You're right?
So that shows the conversation that you've worked through all the things with your clients so that at the end of the day, they're happy with the job that you've done. So well done on that. I applaud you.
Thank you. Look, we're human beings. We make mistakes. I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. I think it's how you deal with the issue that is more important than did you make a mistake or is it not up to the standard that the client feels, right? I've presented work as recent as a week or so ago that I can recall that the client just says, hey, we're not enthused with X, Y, Z. Here's the reasons why. I said, hey, look, the positive is really helpful, right? Makes me feel good. But the negative is something I can actually action. So I think that's great. Digest it to me. It's a work in progress. It's an iteration. I don't hit it out of the ballpark every single time. But I have the team and I have the desire and the care in order to pay attention and continue to push it forward till it's done right. I often say, It's easy to start projects, not so easy to finish projects, right?
Yes. And this is the difference. This is the difference right here. This is what makes a successful business and what makes a business fail, because we all know that the rate of businesses that fail in the first 7 years is pretty astounding, right? But it's how you handle those setbacks. It's how you handle the feedback.
Yes.
How do you show up after that? How do you make it right for your client? How do you listen to them and not get defensive?
Yes.
These are the difference makers. So almost be waiting for this. I almost welcome it, because I know that this is, as a company, this is part of Manmark's growth and becoming all that it can be.
Agreed. It's not that they're not going to happen. It's how we deal with them. And I think that that's really, really an important takeaway. Because again, I'm a human being. My colleagues, for the best, are you an AI bot, Madeline? No, we're humans, right? We're doing the best that we possibly can. And, I think it was once said, I'll butcher the saying here, but essentially, the more experience you have, the less communication one needs in order to get the point. And what I mean by that is I have amazing colleagues who've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of projects together. We know what we want. We know what we like with, let's say, less communication than two people that have just met, of course. Doesn't mean we always do it perfect. And in creative endeavors such as website design, it's very subjective, right?
Absolutely.
I have subjective opinions. I have a lot of opinions. I'm an opinionated guy, but it's interesting. Think about, client finds us somehow, referral or some marketing we've done. They raise their hand by calling or filling out a form on the website. They go into our CRM. They eventually book a meeting with me. We have a conversation. It's like the dating phase, right? It's like, let me tell you all about what we can do, and let me hear all about what you want from us. And we're on our best behavior, so to speak, and we make an agreement to work together. There's a financial element to it. We have an agreement, a contract, et cetera. We start. And the story I'm telling here is you just don't know what you're going into. Personalities are different. It's sometimes very, very easy, sometimes not so easy. But for me, I have the attitude that I'd rather, I'll lose on some. We're operating at scale here, thank God. I don't mind in some case if I'm at, 0 at the end of the day on a project. And because I want to launch that site, I want it to go in my portfolio. I want to be proud of the work that I'm doing. I'm hired because of the work that's on my portfolio. So I'm just not looking at it at too zoomed in of a view of I can't spend more than another 2 hours on this particular thing, because I didn't get to where I am, I think, by doing that kind of work, right? Like you said, see it through to the end. Make sure that you're picking up the phone when it's uncomfortable. All these things are very important. I think you agree with me on that?
Yeah, and let's talk about your best behavior.
Sure.
Yeah, I like that. I like that because I endeavor to be on my best behavior on the first day with a client and on 3 years with the client. It is my endeavor always. I have in the back of my mind that I could lose that client, and each client is like gold. So it's not that I just jump through hoops for my clients. I'm always thinking at the end of the day, how can I bring this a level up for my client?
Mm-hmm.
And really, even if it's a onerous ask that they've given me, I think to myself, how can I bring this a level up and do well for my client?
Reminds me of a story. I have monthly engagements for website management. We're managed WordPress hosts with hundreds of sites in our ecosystem. And these are kind of low ticket items, right? Because it's something we do well, and there's processes, et cetera. And occasionally we'll be asked for a day of work on something, let's just say as an example. And I think where the difference between good and great is, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I know this is important to you, therefore it's important to me. I'm going to action it. Please approve X, Y, and Z costs associated with the request. It's not part of the deliverables of which we've agreed, right? That's so important, because sometimes, I don't know if you're familiar with the term scope creep. I don't know how used that term is, but it's a real thing. And clients like to work with you and they want access to you. And one must be able to make them feel as if their request is important, because it is important. Whether it's important to me or not is irrelevant. It's important to the client. So I think establishing guidelines of, I've received your request, we're putting in the system where the team is taking care of it. Please approve XYZ cost if it's a billable thing. I think those are all really important, in any relationship. And I would say, I've been asked recently, what do you think your most important skill is in your business? And I'd say managing relationship with my clients. I think above all else, above the project management aspect, above the sales aspect, above the delivery of design projects and the builds and all the stuff we're doing, It's being able to, understand my client and communicate effectively with them, even at some degree of scale. I think so.
Managing relationships, absolutely to the core. And I would say for me, it's not just the one who signed the contract or the top leadership team. For me, it goes way further down than that. And I'm definitely not able to tell an organization's story, which is really what I pride myself on, is amplifying your story, bringing your story to life. I'm not able to do that by just talking to the top person.
It's true.
A lot of times it's going down further than that and really bringing to life the people that are doing the actual work on the ground.
Yeah.
It's bringing to life their stories and making relationships unilaterally throughout an organization. So I would just say for any organization that's out there, just think about all of your team members and how they can tell your story.
They're our most valuable assets. Without them, we couldn't operate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm asked sometimes occasionally on the phone, is it just you? I'm like, absolutely not. I could not do what I do without amazing team. I mean, period.
And the minute I stepped in the door here, anybody who has the pleasure of coming to Sage and visiting Alex and Madeline here, you'll see the impact and the team here. It is a great team.
Thank you. And one of the things I said to Madeline early in her time with me, I said, listen, you're going to wear a lot of hats here, but one of them in particular, she's going to laugh when I tell her, she knows what I'm about to say. You must be the client's advocate. That's the most important thing, because at some point, I'm going to drop the ball. I'm going to miss an email. I'm going to do something like that. It's very important that the number one thing is you take care of the needs of the client and make them feel respected, cared about, et cetera. It's so, so important. I try my best, again, coming back to that I'm a human, et cetera. And I think when the principal says it, the founder says it, and those are the things that we're instilling on a regular basis, I think that it flows through everyone in the organization, I believe.
Be your client's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
That is a winning company. And I will share with you, like when I go on vacation and I take, a few times a year where I'm not looking at my email.
Constantly, right?
Marie, my marketing specialist, does a great job in being my client's advocate. And I always dread if I see a text from her, I'm like, oh no, because she tries not to text me. But we both know that is at the core of Man Markets. It doesn't matter if you're on vacation, doesn't matter where you're at.
Correct.
You need to put your client first,
That's
even
right.
when it's uncomfortable.
That's right. And again, coming back to what I take as very heavy role, we're in charge of a client's website completely, right? We talked earlier about like what financial part about that is, but what about the management, the speed? Something goes down, things happen. Let me tell you something. WordPress is a finicky platform, as are many. Things happen a lot. And without a proper manager, without a system admin, 30-plus year veteran of system admin administration, without full-time developers, without a project manager, without all these teammates, I'm sorry, good luck getting this type of support that you need from one of the big box retailers. I'll tell you a little story. I had a client left me a few months ago. Doesn't happen often, and I take it very hard, by the way. Still, I take it very hard, because I take it as a representation of a failure of mine personally rather than just something that happened. So they leave, and they referenced cost as the reason. I said, okay. And they went to one of the big box places that charges a fraction of what we do. And I was sad to see them go. I built their site years ago and have had a relationship for a number of years. And a month or so ago, they came back. Yeah, no, again, this represents not 1% of the, let's say, revenues of the business, maybe a fraction of 1%. But I don't look at it from a money perspective. I look at it as a relationship perspective. I was sad, hurt, frankly, that person left after the relationship that we had. And then they realized, oh, I guess you were right about the fact that, hosting is not just the fee you see on the line item from the big box retailer of $15, $20, $25 a month. There's more to it than that. And I was happy to see them come back, obviously, and I'd like to be with them for years. It's not a money thing for me. It's a relationship thing for me. And I think that's what, others might say, well, what do I care? It's, it's a small, small thing. I don't feel that way at all.
I'm glad you brought this up. And as a small business owner, this is the most challenging part of it for me, is losing clients.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought it up because I know that we cannot be the only ones out there and that it has to hurt other people's souls the way it does ours. I know for me, there's been times I almost wanted to walk away because it just hurts so bad, because I try so hard, because I put so much of myself into what I do. So I think that we're speaking to each other right now, but I also think we're speaking to those out there who are listening to this. Just know every time that happens that you probably weren't supposed to be working with that client anyways.
Yeah.
And just let it release from you and know that it's just a part of business and it's not personal. But also know, just as you're saying, I just got another client back that I had a couple of years ago. Same situation came back to me out of the blue. And so just you never know when somebody will come back into your life, and focus on the good that you do for the clients that you do serve. And I would just encourage you to let the others go. I'll share with you a little bit about what I do, especially when it's a hurtful one for me, because sometimes it really does hurt. I always just get up from my desk and I try to take a walk. I pray about it because I'm spiritual. I'm a Christian. And I just, I'm glad you brought this up because it's tough.
We're human beings trying our best, right? We are.
Yes.
And for me, I don't mind being honest about my feelings about these things. I think it's important. People can see that I'm a real person and not like a whatever. I care. I really care. And I think that's a big separation from us and maybe someone else.
If I was listening to a podcast, that's the thing I would want to listen about. I would be like, how did you deal with that? And you look like such a winner, Alex. The minute I walked in here, I was thinking he probably has so many clients this never happens to him. But
it's not true.
We start sharing, the minute other people feel like they're included, and you're going to have lunch for all your happy clients.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. You're going to have 50 people that you're serving lunch to. That's incredible. That says a lot about you.
Thank you. I think the number could be much more than that, and I'm just, I need to have some bounds for the first one. But and look, on the subject of failures, I'll share another one with you. I had a 5-year relationship with a nonprofit. I won't say the name. And had a horrible, I remember, like a crazy bad website, like a Wix or something. Not that Wix is always bad, but just this particular instance of the site was very, very bad. And we did a big turnaround, and we've been a trusted vendor for 5+ years. And I was asked to post something on a Sunday at, I want to say 3 o'clock in the morning, because they wanted it 6 a.m. on the East Coast, I think. And what I should have done is I should have said, make sure you get me the stuff by 5 p.m. on Saturday or by 8 p.m. on Saturday, my time, so that I can log in and I can publish this thing or schedule this thing for you. It's easy. It's a text post on a website. Didn't do that. I have 2 small children, by the way. If you think I'm busy professionally, like at home, I can't do anything, especially on the weekends. And I lost that relationship because of that. After 5 years of credit, right? And that one really hurt. And no apology to the founder, the CEO. I was very honest. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Let's not lose a half a decade together over a mistake. But that happened recently. It's tough. Again, it's tough. But how one acts in that situation, I think, is also important. I have a whole offboarding that I've drafted, and here's exactly what you need to know, and here's the things I suggest you buy, and here's the reporting that's going to stop, and here's the licensing of the plugins that's going to stop. Like, I do my best to be a good guy and give them the details, right? Instead of just letting the next vendor figure it all out. So it is what it is. And maybe that relationship will come back in the future. We shall see.
Well, thank you for sharing. And
Sure.
I'll say for 2 reasons. Number one, I'll just say that I do look at every exchange as the opposite side of what can happen, especially when I get those emails where I'm like, but wait, that is beyond my scope. Like, I already have all this over here. I don't have the time. I don't have the bandwidth. I always look at every single email as the opposite side of the shoe. The shoe could drop, with that. But then also the way that you talked about that relationship and how you continue that relationship, that says a lot about your integrity and who you are as a professional. And again, I just think that's how you've built such a professional business. And
Thank you.
I just always try to do what I can. Even I've had clients leave me and then ask me to volunteer and create something for them at no price, and I've done it.
Wow.
I don't do that as a business practice, but
Sure.
it was a cause that I cared about, and I was like, okay, I can manage this. Like I'll create this because I believe in supporting this person and goodwill, and I believe that it always comes back to you, and in my life, it always has.
That's very nice. I agree. I agree on the coming back to it. Like do the best, put your best foot forward, do the best that you can always, and it works out. I believe that. We're Figma designers. Everything we do is in Figma first. And you made a point about, you mentioned about expressing brand touch points, the messaging, the belief, et cetera, throughout a site, right? And I'm wondering, like, for example, I use Figma for new design concepts. I use something called Markup for, let's say, clients' desires to make changes on a live site. Instead of saying, hey, can you change the following paragraph at this random place on the homepage of the website? It's like, here's this tool. Why don't you click in and make the comments of which you want so we can discuss them when we meet, right? Do you have a preferred process or way or like a thinking process of how you take an existing, whether it's a static flyer, whether it's a website, whether it's when you onboard a new client, like how are you making those like website specific recommendations, or what's your thought process as to that? I already can understand that you're having meetings with key individuals. You said not just the top, but other individuals in the organization to understand their purpose. But how do you put that together in a cohesive way and deliver it? Is there another tool you use, or what's your preference?
I think you always start by asking questions. So we have a branding onboarding document that has questions, and it changes for every client. And asking questions, this is just as simple as a Google Doc. So that is just always where we start. And then for some of our clients, we would create a mood board from that or some other messaging from that, depending on what level of support our services are. But just always asking questions and then coming back and ensuring, is this the direction, or getting everybody on the same page. For some of our clients, I had a pregnancy clinic that I created a brand book for, that this brand book became the document that the staff lived by, that the board lived by, that everyone lived by, to say, this is the messaging of this organization. And we took that messaging from being a very negative messaging to one that was very aspirational and united the employees, united the board members, all singing the same song. So a brand book can be a very powerful tool in doing that and just really bringing everyone together.
Agreed. And also if there are, let's just say, designers doing different things, if there's a web person, there might be someone else doing static images. Like it would be nice to ensure, hey, these are the fonts we use. These are the colors we use. This is the way the logo is presented. I'm all for that. I think that's great. Also brings a level of like sophistication maybe, or just maturity of the business to, this is the rules, right? We're not just doing whatever we want that day, right?
All of a sudden that yellow clip art star is just, just some of the things that people put into branding. It just brings down the professionalism, the consistency. And what happens with that consistency is that we build trust, right? And that's what we're looking here to do. I mean, everything that we're talking about, Alex, is how do you build trust in an organization?
Yeah.
And branding, when you have consistent branding, that's what you're doing, is you're building trust.
I'll say, I've said this before, I agree 100%. I believe there's a direct correlation between, let's say, improved look and feel, in my view, again, of what I do of websites, and purchase decision, an action being made, a conversion happening. I really believe that. Take it for what it is. If I'm perusing the web and I have two websites with an equivalent product or service in which I'm interested, and one user experience is far better than the other, in my view, at the very least, this person or this company has put in the effort to ensure that my experience is a good one, right? And I think that says a lot versus the alternative, right? In my own business, right, I come across sites, frankly, again, this is, I don't know, maybe me being a little jaded or something here, but I come across websites, I'm like, is this the vendor that you want to hire? I really believe that it's so important. Spend the time to make something the best representation of who you are, and continue to build upon it. That's what we do, right? We have a foundation for Sage, our website, et cetera, and our marketing stuff, but it's a constant evolution because who we are evolves and changes to some degree over time.
Yeah, we look at the best brands and we see right away when we look at their website what makes them amazing.
Yeah.
And then we can look at the same type of organization like a shoe company, right? And look at their where they haven't spent the money on the branding, and it's night and day. And of course, we want the shoe brand that has spent the money, that's spent the research, that's spent the time, and that brings a whole lifestyle to bear and to life through their website.
Yep.
It's not just a tennis shoe anymore. It's who do I want to be? Who do I want to become?
Yep.
That's the power of branding. That's what we do. This is not about creating a pretty picture. This is how do we motivate people and inspire them to take action.
To take action and envision themselves using the product, et cetera. How is my life going to be improved because of that? Totally agreed with that. You made a point about like what's the best way a leader, a founder, or someone, a business owner can bring their why, bring belief together, bring everything together. Like what's an action that one should start? What's the first step? Obviously, besides calling you, but really, I didn't mean it in jest, but like, what are some things that they should be thinking about in order to elevate themselves?
What is your vision? What do you hope to accomplish as a company? What are your values? What do you stand for? How do you live every day? And your values. You can't just say, oh, here's my 20 values. No, what are your 3 or 4 top values that you say on a daily basis? I live by this. I make decisions by this. This is what keeps me up at night. What's your mission? Why do you exist? All of those things.
I'm going to take that advice, by the way, and I'm going to figure out mine because I have a lot of them too, right? I have a lot of things that are inherently who I am, but I'm not sure I've ever really articulated it in a very straightforward manner, and I'm going to send them to you in the next 7 days. That's my goal for myself.
I'm inspired. Like I was inspired when you reached out to me for this. I was like, I can't believe Alex remembers me.
I do.
And he asked me to come alongside.
I'm going to do that. I think that's a very good exercise. And if I can add to that, I would say, look, depending on, again, maturity of company, it's an issue of, can I afford great talent? That's one issue, right? I would argue to say is you cannot afford the wrong talent, right? Hiring, I always say these days, like one of my favorite lines is like, hey, if the cost to you of doing it wrong is less than my fees, then I'm probably the right vendor for you. And it's just amplified so many times over when someone, they have significant Google ads, Meta, et cetera. We have a lot of engagements like that companies are spending big dollars. There needs to have a result, right? My entire fee could be 2 or 3 days of ad spend, right? It doesn't really, it's like critical. So when one grows beyond the first of all, choose the right vendor and don't let it be price driven only, right? I get so many phone calls, so many sales opportunities that in the first 10 seconds is how much does it cost, right? And I understand. I'm not saying you should overpay for something, but if cost or price is the only reason you're going to either hire me or fire me, like I'm not the right person for you. I can't be. I've built a team. There's 15 of us around the world. It's like there's significant costs associated with that. But what value can I bring, and how can I solve these ongoing problems that you have, and how can we take it from, what is it, the famous consulting firm, the as is to the to be, right? How do I take it from what it is today to what it could be in the future? I would say, find the best vendors that you're aligned with, that I think philosophically agree, and you can work in a beautiful, cohesive way together. And I'm going to take your advice on those points. How does one find you?
Well, I like that you're going to take the advice of those points. And I'm always thinking about how to improve. And I'm listening to all the things that you're talking about. And I'm thinking about your lunch. And I'm thinking about the power of your video. And, hey, maybe at your lunch you just have a little video booth and you ask people why they chose Sage.
I like that.
And you get all of these videos and think about how that will bring to life. And it's all consistent video, too. So that might be a little thing that you can do at your luncheon.
Great idea.
So, and I know you'll be successful with that, Alex.
Thank you.
Super excited.
I'll get a drink into every one of the clients and I'll say, listen, in exchange for this, all I need you to do is step into this booth for 30 seconds. That's what we'll do.
You don't need to. They're all there for lunch.
No, you're right. I know. I will do that. That's a great idea. Thank you for that. That's a great idea.
You.
How does one find you?
Mannmark.com.
Spell it, please.
MANNMARK.com.
I really enjoyed speaking with you. See, we did very little prep in advance. 2 people with, different but somewhat related industry. And what an interesting conversation can come out of it. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to come here and do this.
Thanks, Alex. It was like a therapy session, right?
Good. Same for me. Yeah, I'm crying about my recent losses and things. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Alex.
I enjoyed it.